Hello everyone, this is Pico Entertainment and we are back again, and here now we have another video for you, and this will be a review of the season 1 finale of Tulsa KIng. Now there will be spoilers throughout, so just beware when going into this overall video. Now just to recap on the previous events, stakes were being raised as Waltrop was making moves trying to get Dwight arrested so he could get him later on in jail. We saw that Chicky was asserting himself as the new boss of the family after killing his father in the previous episodes, and Stacy got caught in a crossfire in another attempt on Dwight's life. Now, a few issues aside, this was a very solid and entertaining enough finale, with some great moments, some less than convincing ones, but overall it was a good enough conclusion to the first season. I very much liked the opening scene where we get a flashback to Brooklyn 1997, where we see Chicky, Vince, Max, all in their younger phases of course, beating down someone who owes them money. Chicky takes things too far by branding somebody by burning their face before Dwight walks in to stop him. As Dwight looks to free him after he's handcuffed to the rails, they inadvertently start to set the building on fire just before the cops show up, and not having any time to free him, Dwight ends up shooting him rather than seeing him burn to his death. But as a result, we see Dwight later on getting caught by the police, and this was just a great sequence, just adding extra context and of course showing us how exactly Dwight got arrested. So overall it was a great start to the episode. We then go on to what was likely for me my favourite scene of the entire episode, when Chicky meets up with Dwight in Tulsa and Dwight just completely dismisses him, telling him that this is his town and very much telling him not to get involved and stay out of his way. The whole scene really typified how good Sly has been in this role. And the highlight for me was calling Chicky Kojak. So hilarious, of course, if any of you remember Kojak, played by Telly Savalas all those many years ago. Now there were some issues here in terms of this scene, despite the fact that Dwight was very much the senior member, and yes, he's had a long history with Chicky's father of course. The fact is that Chicky is still the boss. And for Dwight to get away with dissing him like that in front of the others, you know, this is the boss of the family that we're talking about here. So even though Dwight is more experienced, he still has to show some respect to the overall boss of the family. So I wasn't convinced by Chicky just taking the disrespect like that. Not as convincing either was Pete, just switching over sides like that, or at Dwight's say so. Why would you go over to the quiet side of Tulsa when you could just stand by the overall boss of the criminal family? Again, just define Chicky like that, it would kind of just undercuts Chicky as an overall character. I'm sure there has to be more than this. Maybe this was a deliberate play to try and set up Pete as a mole within Dwight's organisation. Perhaps we'll find out more about this in season 2. We later on see Waltrop gathering his troops together to wage all-out war against Dwight, currently shooting one of his members for questioning his methods. Whilst I believe Waltrop has been much more of a cartoonish villain, the show becomes far more interesting whenever he's on screen. Dwight's group fight back by hacking into Waltrop's laptop and his accounts to clear out all of his funds, which further increases the antagonism. And that antagonism comes to a halt as Waltrop's gang go all-out assault on Dwight's bar, and we get an all-out shootout with Phil Collins in the air tonight playing in the background. So again, very entertaining, but I do think that the song choice kind of took a little bit of that edge away from this sequence, making it a bit more frivolous than serious. And it's this kind of tone that's very similar to Cobra Kai, in that despite the contemporary setting, things can feel a little bit more of a fantasy, almost like a comic strip adventure, rather than a realistic gangster story. So whilst it's fun to watch, it also seems a bit detached from realism, which I think is a bit of a flaw with the entire series. But we have the shootout play out, and it ends with Dwight delivering a fatal kill to Waltrop, pinning him against the wall and then blasting him away with a shotgun in a very violent and gruesome scene. And I think this was a bit of a shame, as I do think Waltrop had potential to be a truly great character within the series, but I suppose at the time of making this series, they weren't really too sure as to whether they were going to get a season 2 or not, so they had to make it an overall complete conclusion. And we get that sense again as we go forward in time 3 months later after the shootout, where we see Dwight at the ranch with both Margaret and Tina, all happy and everything seems all good. However, it doesn't turn out to be the case, as following her handing over the USB evidence, which had all of the details of Waltrop's accounts, Stacy is disciplined by her superiors for having a close relationship with Dwight, but she's later on reinstated, but only on the condition that turns out to having Dwight arrested for having the evidence in the first place. So very much a cliffhanger for season 2, kind of very underhanded by Stacy, considering her relationship with Dwight, and seeing the reaction online, it's made her far less likeable with the viewers and fans of the show, but it will be interesting to see how the relationship plays out, if she can still be a significant character in season 2. for essentially taking a bullet for him in the previous episode, and it will be interesting to see how exactly Dwight gets out of this one, having only recently come out of prison himself. But overall, this was a very good and sound finale, a very wise choice to leave it on a cliffhanger, as I believe that's always a good tactic for any long-running television series. And the show seems to have been very popular with both fans and critics. It seems to have got good ratings and viewings for Paramount Plus, and this is very much considered in their decision to extend the show for a second season overall. So I will shortly provide a season review of the show where I'll go into far more depths as to what I think worked and what I think didn't work quite as well. I do hope going forward that we do get a far more serious tone, and maybe we can cut out the quirkiness in terms of the overall Western comedic vibes, but I'll talk about that more in a season review. But in terms of this finale, very solid, very entertaining, action-packed and watchable overall. So those are my quick thoughts and feelings and review of the season finale of the first season of Tulsa King. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you think this was a good conclusion for the series? Do you think it faltered in many ways? Do you think it should have been extended? Do you think we should have got far more depth and layer in terms of certain characters and how they played out? Or do you think it was played just right? And are you very much looking forward to season 2? Let me know what you think in the comments below. And if you have any other suggestions in terms of movies or television series or any other issues within the entertainment industry that you'd like to see me cover, then also let me know, and I will see if I can provide further coverage for you on those topics within the future. Please also hit and like the subscription and notification buttons so I can provide you with more high quality content like this in the future. But that's it for now. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you very, very soon.